Welcome to another edition of Mama Board by AppsFlyer. My name is Andre, the CMO of Solidarity App. We are a new platform that creates tools for content creators like Twitch streamers, YouTubers and Instagrammers to engage with their audience, but also to collect free donations through app downloads. I work in UA since ringtones were a thing, and since then I worked in a lot of companies like Zalando, Lavu, TradeMob and many others, and I've seen a lot of things when it comes to app analytics. This is why I will talk you through the exciting exercise of how to build your app marketing tech stack like pro today. This is actually inspired by the famous mobile growth stack from Andy Cowell, but obviously it's a little bit more steered towards the analytics side of things. So let's get started. Why do you need this app marketing tech stack in the end? At the very beginning, you might want to start as a company with just one or two people. You're releasing your app, you're super happy that you're getting your first downloads, and you might look into iTunes, Google Play and those kind of things. But as soon as you start scaling and have more people on board, you want to inform different stakeholders, you might need to gather data for your investors, these things. You will probably need more sophisticated analysis of what your users do within your app, how you are getting your users, what you're paying for users, and so on. And this is why you will need to build a robust architecture to understand how your users are getting onboarded and how are they behaving after the re-engagement part and so on. So you will need this tech stack to structure your data processing and understand the behavior of your users. So let's get started with the attribution part of things. At the very beginning, you probably just look into the iTunes stuff and understand that your users are coming from certain channels or something, but you actually don't really understand when you start investing money if the users that are coming from, for example, Instagram are actually paid users or organic users. And that's the moment where you consider to implement an MMP SDK to understand if really the money that you invested brings those users that you need for your app that are engaging with your app. So the first thing in an app marketing tech stack is obviously attribution. You want to know where your users are coming from and how they behave afterwards. You want to pinpoint your top growth and re-engagement sources and want to see how people download the app, but also how they behave right after the download or even when they got re-engaged through a push notification or an email, for example. You want to connect all your buying sources, all your media sources with a universal SDK. You don't want to have 1,000 SDKs inside from different partners, right? So this will just make your app more complex and heavy for the users to download. So you want to have also a single point of truth from one unbiased partner so that all the media partners you're working with also trust the results that you're sharing with them. You want to measure across the funnel, not only from the acquisition side of things, but also, as I already said, like after the re-engagement communication part, how the users are behaving, how are they moving forward in the purchase funnel, for example, or how are they moving from one level to the next level when we talk about a game. When we solved the attribution thing, we are talking about re-engagement. You have acquired your users, you have paid a lot of money for your users on Facebook, AdWords, and maybe some random other channels. So you want to talk about deep linking them back to the point where they actually broke or stopped purchasing the latest Adidas shoe or doing an in-app purchase for 999 diamonds for your game, for example. So you want to bring them back into your app. For this, you will also need something like marketing automation that helps you to communicate with your users right after they dropped off in the conversion funnel. For marketing automation, there are a lot of tools out there that you can use, and they will help you to send maybe just a push notification, for example, Firebase, but there are other tools, for example, MailChimp, which help you to just send an email to your users. The problem with that is you can't bring those information together very easily. This means you can't really easily build an audience or segmentation. You can't say this user has clicked a particular email with one special topic, and then the same user gets exactly the same push notification with the same message when you have it living in different tools. You want to avoid this. So You want to make a decision for a marketing automation tools that brings all those features together, thinking of push notification, in-app messages, maybe even web push notifications and emails, so you can build a funnel across all communication channels. Once you are communicating with your users, as I said, you will need a deep linking functionality. The problem with deep linking functionality, if you use it from a different provider than your original attribution platform, you again have the problem of tying this data together and understand where your users are dropping off and how are they behaving. So one recommendation I can give is to put deep linking and attribution, or let deep linking and attribution live together in one SDK with one well-selected MMP. So let's talk about in-app analytics for a moment. Usually this is something product managers work with very deeply. They use that to identify problems within the app. They use it to see if a certain screen is useless or it's very helpful. Should they put a button from the top left to the bottom right? These kind of things. But as a marketer, as a UA manager, you might also want to understand where your users drop off in the conversion funnel, because you are very ROI driven, aren't you? So in-app analytics is something that helps you to segment your audience, to build re-engagement audiences, which you then can use in your marketing automation in the end. So I can highly recommend to have a deep look into in-app analytics. I can give you maybe one example. In the past, I was working for an e-commerce company, for example. I did do a big promotion to advertise the newest Adidas or Nike shoe or something like that. I did have a massive coupon discount that I could offer to my audience. But the problem was, after I got them into the app, they were super excited. They wanted to buy, but they obviously didn't convert in the end. So the conversion rate was quite low. The ROI wasn't really happening. So I had bad results as a marketer. The product manager has shipped his app. The screen was working from his perspective. Conversion rates are somehow happening, but I, as a marketer, was very quickly able to identify there is somewhere a problem. So I had a look into the in-app analytics and was able to tell someone, hey, there is something broken in the purchase functionality. The coupon code entering function wasn't available. So obviously I brought the users into the app, but they weren't able to purchase at the discount rate I was offering. These are things you can only see when you're really using those kind of things, and not only your product manager, who is maybe not even informed about your advertising campaigns, like this particular coupon for this particular shoe in this particular country. Let's talk about App Store intelligence for a moment. This is something very different from the usual attribution part, which dollar does something from Facebook or these kind of things. App Store intelligence helps you as a marketer to understand how you are positioning your app in the app stores, right? So you want to understand how your competitors are doing in certain countries, how you are doing in the same countries. Is there maybe a niche somewhere out there that you are missing? You also will be able to understand which keywords are important for you. Is there maybe a keyword that you are not using right now in your description to get found on the App Store? One very simple example I had, I was consulting actually a food delivery app. I was just going through the description, title and these kind of things, and I quickly identified we won't get found by the keyword pizza, which is super important for a food delivery app, right? And what I then figured out is it was simply missing in the description. So the first key learning I was able to make here with an App Store intelligence tool is I need to optimize very simple basic things to position my app in the App Store and be having an advantage against my competition. Now that you understand how your attribution works, how your email campaigns work, how your deep linking works, these kind of things, you already analyze a lot of data, right? So you might ask yourself, why the hell do I need a backend integration or a data warehouse integration, however you call it? Well, let me give you one example. You might have an SDK from your MMP integrated. You are tracking purchase events, you are tracking revenues, these information. This is all there. But as we are all humans, with every app update, there can something happen. It can be a bad documentation, it can be a developer who broke something in the code or something like that, and you are suddenly losing information in your tracking. The same can happen in your data warehouse, where maybe your company is storing all the information about the original orders with credit card information or any other information that your company might store about your customers. So developers on both sides can break things, and having a backend integration in your app marketing tech stack will will enable you to quickly identify flaws in your data. You will be able to quickly see things if, for example, you're running 16 country campaign in 16 countries in parallel. If in maybe Germany there's something broken, but in all other countries it's perfectly running. So there are certain reasons why you want to have a backend integration to combine all the data together and see differences in the different systems. And this brings me to the part of the business intelligence, the BI tools that are very famous right now. You might have started with Excel files. You might have used Google Sheets or other things that are freely available and they are easy to handle for most of us. You are able to draw your pivot charts and so on. But as soon as you have a running business, a scaling business that is using a lot of raw data from many different systems, those things don't work anymore. You will need a tool, for example, Tableau, ClickView, Data Studio, or any other of them, to combine all the data to build your custom dashboards for all the different stakeholders in the company that might look from a different angle on your business and want to understand what's happening in their context, let's say. So these business intelligence tools are very important for growing businesses to quickly see the success of your app or your company. Now that we've learned a lot about the app marketing tech stack, let me summarize that for you in my pro tips. Connect all data sources. Why do you want to connect all data sources? Well, you want to identify patterns. You want to see things happening in different countries, for example. Your competitor in Austria is ranking very well in the App Store and you're missing an opportunity here. You will easily be able to see the why behind his better ranking in Austria when you connect all data sources and understand that your app marketing spend on Facebook, Google AdWords and other channels in Austria is very low, or your actual success ratio is very low. Combine attribution and deep linking in one single tool. That's one thing where attribution is actually the speciality and deep linking is the commodity. The selection of the right attribution partner is super important because all your media sources, all your buying partners actually need to trust your MMP and the data that you're sharing with them. The same applies to the deep linking functionality itself. You want to understand the data patterns within one dashboard in the end. Use Python or SQL for automation. That's maybe something not everyone is aware of. But when you as a marketer, for example, get into the office every day at 9 a.m. and you open your Google Sheets or your Excel file and start copy-pasting cost information from Facebook, you start copy-pasting information from your marketing automation tool into maybe one single data sheet to display it in the BI. This can be very frustrating. It is a source of human error and you probably waste just a lot of time. You can automate that. So to automate those things, you can use certain scripts. Just ask your in-house developer or hire a freelancer to program a few scripts to connect to APIs to pull all this data automatically without the human error interface. Make use of deep linking and marketing automation. This is super important. The marketing automation is probably the most effective and most cost-effective channel that you will ever have. Facebook won't be able to compete with that. Email, push notification, in-app messages, even web push notifications will be the thing to use and to engage with your audience to bring them back into your app. So make use of that and try to personalize your communication as much as possible. If you're able, if you're growing, as soon as you can, hire a data engineer and a data scientist. The data engineer will help you to structure your data. And the data scientist will actually help you to understand and interpret the data. He will see other patterns than you do. He has a mathematical background to interpret things better than you as a regular marketer who might have studied marketing or digital side of things. So let's come to the bottom line. You need to choose or select your single point of truth. For me personally, when it comes to data analysis, my single point of truth is usually the MMP. Most marketers I spoke with, it's always the same decision, it's the MMP, but obviously there are internal fights sometimes when other people say, yeah, but my backend, my data warehouse is my one single point of truth. Well, there is no right or false, it's your decision, but you have to stay with that decision. Never mix data up, never look from different angles when you actually need to understand what's happening in your business. Never settle on the second best. This applies to all tools that I mentioned here. Never choose the one that comes maybe at the lowest price point or is even for free. I can absolutely and highly recommend to invest the time to understand the features and the functionality of each tool that you choose. For example, what I mentioned in the marketing automation, try to find a tool that is as flexible as possible, that is able to or enables you to create audiences and segments and automate communication parts that you don't want to manage manually. So never settle on the second best. And most important, never let anyone else decide which tool you use. Try to involve yourself as early as possible in the decision process and help making the right decision, because it will save you a lot of time. Once decided and once a tool is implemented, it is super hard to roll back or find another tool to get implemented. So this decision is super important, and it's very necessary that you involve yourself very early in the decision process. Well, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. If you have another opinion than me, or if you want to say something additionally, post it in the comments. Otherwise, if you want to see other Mama boards, just visit this URL and check them out. Thanks from my side. Bye-bye.